Hello! Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Instead of a funny sketch at the beginning of the video, we've decided we're going to add some stakes because James has actually put a deposit down on one of these cars. How much was the deposit again?
10 grand in the end.
10 grand.
10 grand,
okay.
yeah.
And so by the end of the video, James is going to decide whether or not he's actually going to follow through and take delivery.
Of a Lotus Emira. But it was refundable, so the deposit was refundable.
No, it's not. You have build date, right?
Only technically.
Oh, no, only literally. You're not getting that 10 grand back, my friend.
Nah.
Stupid.
Well, good thing I used the company credit card then.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm James.
And this is the Lotus Emira.
And yes, about a year ago, I placed an order for one. And that's not something I do often. In fact, the last impractical fun car I bought was an MX-5 in 2017.
James, what's a impractical fun car? Oh, you wanted to say the last sports car you bought, didn't you? But you had to say impractical fun car because you were worried people would say the Miata isn't a sports car?
No. Yes. Anyway, stunned by its beauty, I thought that if this Emira is even 90% of the drive of the Evora GT we had just tested, with all the added refinement that it promised and that new look, well, then I was in. The Emira teased all the right sports car ingredients, and even fully spec'd, it has a price tag of under 100 grand US. That doesn't mean that 95 grand or 120 Canadian isn't an awful lot of money though.
And ever since James placed the order, he's been a mess. Humming and hawing and going back and forth. It feels silly, he says. It feels irresponsible. What more can it provide in Toronto than an MX-5? What does it have over a Cayman that means he can ignore its lots of trouble, usually serious reputation? Needless to say, he's been nervous about testing this thing. But alas, that day has come. It's time to find out if the Emira is worthy. And while today we're just driving a test car, we decided we would sit down and take a close look at the spec that James has chosen for his. Or ours now, I guess.
And if you're new to Throttle House, we do car reviews, track tests, and quite a lot of messing about. So subscribe, hit the bell.
All right, Thomas, this is not a Cayman, okay? There's not 50 million options. There's only a few things you can choose, which I've lost sleep over each one. And the first decision is a supercharged V6 or a turbocharged i4.
That's gotta be pretty easy.
Yep. I've chosen the same engine that's in this vehicle, the supercharged V6. It's a Camry V6 with a Lotus supercharger on it. It's good for 400 horsepower. Now credit to the AMG 4-cylinder, that can do 360 horsepower from a 4-cylinder. But for me, for a sports car, I don't want a turbocharged car. I love a naturally aspirated car, and the only thing that comes second to that with a very close second is a supercharged one. Progressive. It feels naturally aspirated, but just assisted. In this form, the Emira is good for 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds. That's plenty quick enough for me. It's not C8 Stingray quick, but my God, does it sound good. I've got plenty of intake noise coming from the engine behind me. And then on the overrun, it burbles and crackles. Now, people have complained that this doesn't quite rev high enough, because when you do look at a Cayman GTS 4 litre, that thing revs to 8,000 RPM, and I totally get that, that's monstrous. But this revs to 6,800. If I remember correctly, the Evora revved to 6,600 in Tour and 7,000 in Sport, but this 6,800 lasts plenty long enough for me, especially around these canyons. What a lovely power plant. I kind of wish it banged off the rev limiter rather than shutting down the power the way it does. But I like the short gearing. You're constantly shifting gears in this. But that's in part to the other decision that I've made. All right, so that's the engine.
Yep.
The next decision that it gives you on the website is transmission.
Which one did you choose, James?
Yes. This is the 6-speed manual transmission. And because of the short gearing, I'm constantly engaging with this car. It is absolutely a driver's car. It says it in a very cringy way on the key, but it is actually true. The shifts are so purposeful and mechanical. You've got to give it some, which I kind of like. I find that in the Cayman GTS and some other cars, it's a little bit too assisted. And you can even see through the mesh in the console, the mechanism. How rewarding is that? And that's not the only mechanism you can see. As I apply throttle in my rear view, it's just, Lotus understands something. They don't understand like dealer networks and delay times and suddenly increased prices in England, but man, do they know how to build a sports car. The clutch is lighter than I remember the Evora being. We got stuck in some pretty bad traffic in the Evora, and I remember Thomas complaining of a sore foot. This, oh, great downshifts. This you could daily. You could drive this across the country. It's an incredibly livable manual transmission. Where the livability is potentially threatened is the other choice I've made. Okay, so this next one is a really, really big one, all right? On the Emira, you can only have passive dampers.
Okay.
So for suspension choices, you either get the Touring from factory or you get the Sport from factory.
Right.
Which is harsher riding.
Okay.
And I've been on the forums, I've been on the Facebook groups, everyone is dying over this choice.
Okay.
So.
Which did you do?
I did Sports.
So James opted for sport suspension. I mean, if you can do sport suspension, always do sport suspension, right? Wrong. Sometimes sport suspension is unlivable, painful, pointless. But you know what? This car with sport suspension, like the one that we, not he, we apparently, have optioned, is great. The ride is actually supple. It's very much like the Evora, actually. I don't remember the Evora being stiff, too stiff at any point, and this isn't either. The ride is good. And I'm in a Lotus, and I'm in a canyon. This is pretty much driving Nirvana. The whole car feels so light. The front just darts in. Steering is quick and talkative. True, proper, genuine feedback. Hydraulic steering rack. I don't actually think it's quite as good as the Evora, or at least what I remember the Evora being. But it's pretty much better than every Porsche. And the car, it moves around and it talks to you. Over every little bump and undulation, something happens in the steering. You feel the suspension compression. You feel the load in the tires. And there's a lot of load you can put in the tires because this is on Cup 2s. But yeah, oh, proper G-forces. A little bit of mid-engine action there on the way out. Brilliant driving car. This is where Miata meets Porsche. Right here. I would take this experience over pretty much every supercar I've ever driven. Manual transmission, small, light chassis, talkative steering, mid-engine, Lotus weight. Yeah, give me more, please. Just do this all day long. One more sweep, one more crest, one more corner. Okay, driving section over. Let's get to what is probably your favorite part, I'm guessing. Yeah, well, no.
Only because
you're obsessed with colors.
Yeah.
How long did you think about the colors in this car?
3 seconds. 3 seconds.
There's no way that's
When
true.
choosing a first edition, you only have a choice of 7 colors.
Okay.
6.
6.
6 colors.
Yeah.
And
Actually, sorry, the car's right there. Why don't we just go talk about it in front of the Lotus?
oh yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. So this is dark verdant.
Dark, what?
Dark green.
Dark green. Got it. It's pretty.
Yes, it's very pretty. People want a green Lotus. A lot of people want a green Lotus. They think it's.
Yeah, well, British Racing Green and the whole thing.
But this is dark. This is not British Racing Green.
No, it's
This is-
not. Well, it's like a metal flake too.
But when the sun doesn't touch it, it looks black.
It is very dark on that side, but when the sun's hitting it, it's really nice actually.
It's
very
lovely,
pretty.
yeah. And you have the choice of a lower black pack, which this one has, and an upper black pack, which is the.
Does this have
the
that?
no, the whole roof becomes black. This is green.
Oh, it's so
See?
dark. It's so
It's
dark
so
out of the
dark.
sun you can't even tell. So what color did you choose, James?
Seneca blue.
No kidding. James chose a blue car.
We drove a Ferrari F8.
I guess I also chose a blue car now
Yeah.
that I'm part of this.
Exactly. We drove the Ferrari F8 blue with the black roof.
Yes.
We drove the Maserati MC20 blue with the black roof.
That's true, yeah.
And we put them on top of the mountain, and I went, yep. In fact, a little bit of backstory, which we didn't mention at the beginning, was the reason I ended up ordering an Emira.
Ended up ordering an Emira.
We, involuntarily, was because we had an argument on the top of a mountain.
We did?
Yeah, we were standing next to the Maserati MC20.
Okay.
And I wasn't a huge fan of it. And Thomas really loved it.
I was.
But it cost a fortune. I'm going to say
Yes.
300 grand, give or take.
Yeah.
And I turned to Thomas and I passionately said, that's ridiculous because the Emira's going to come along, look just as good as that in blue with a black roof for a third of the price.
And have a manual transmission.
With a manual transmission. And he said, you know what you got to do, don't you? And I was like, yeah, but secretly I was thinking, you know what we got to do. So I chose blue with a black roof, with a manual transmission, and it cost a third of the price of an MC20.
It did, yes.
However, I've since seen a lot of delivery photos,
Yeah.
and the Magma Red with the black roof.
That looks like a Ferrari.
Is that bad?
No, it's not. But it's not a Ferrari, though, is it? It's a Lotus. I almost don't want it to look like a Ferrari.
Yes.
Okay, because when you look at this car, it completely looks like an Italian supercar.
Yes, until someone on the forum says that the front looks like Voldemort's nose, and then it ruins the whole.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
These little inserts. It looks like Voldemort. Well, he. Yeah, and that's the Verdant Green. I couldn't get a Avada Kedavra green.
You
so-
couldn't get back an evergreen? No.
But there's been a bit of cheekiness on Lotus's side. First of all, on the website, this thing is completely slammed. And every single press photo, even the press car they had,
Yeah.
like rolling around,
Yeah.
was slammed on the wheels.
I'm so glad you got to experience the whole lovely buying process with our money. He's like, oh, I do the press photos, the forums. And
we haven't spent it yet. We haven't spent it yet.
You have spent the 10,000.
Yeah, 10 grand's gone, 100%. But we get to choose. Well, also prices on this car are strange, right? Because people have tried to put the first editions up for sale on the bidding sites and stuff,
Yes.
and they're not actually going for more. Some of them aren't even hitting reserve on the MSRP.
Okay.
So basically, I done up AA1. So So we might actually be better. Anyway,
Can we just talk about this as a car? Like proportions, look, styling, wheels, everything is beautiful.
Beautiful.
They absolutely nailed the way that this thing looks.
This looks like a baby supercar. It looks like the
It
McLaren.
just looks like a supercar, actually. It's like barely smaller than a full-size supercar.
But I think if you put it next to something, like, because it looks exactly like a McLaren Artura, even down to this.
Yes, that vent,
That
very
vent there.
McLaren, yeah.
But I think if you put them next to each other, you'd start to see the difference.
Okay.
But yeah, it really, really, really looks like a supercar.
No, it is stunning in real life.
It's wide, it's low. The
looks
wide
special.
bit is a bit cheeky because it's kind of like stuck on. Like, open the door.
What do you mean?
The fact that it's wide is kind of just.
Oh, I see. Yes.
It's a little bit. Yeah.
Arrow, intakes and
Aero.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
for aero.
Yeah. Well, that's what you want. You want light panels on the outside and a small, strong chassis.
But you can see the V6 through there,
That is very
which
cool.
is more than I can say for the 296 Ferrari that we have.
Yeah, they actually let you see this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and how big is the trunk actually? Because I've never seen it. Is there a frunk?
No, you can't open that because there's like a radiator or
Okay.
something in
All
there.
right. That's unfortunate.
The trunk is the same size as the Evora trunk, which is not big.
You could fit 1.5 carry-on suitcases in there
It's a small car for small belongings.
for small belongings and small people. Shall we look at the interior?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last stuff on the spec that,
Yes.
that we've chosen.
That we've chosen. Yeah.
Just so we can talk about the interior, is I basically did the marketing spec, which really upset me, and I sent a message to Lotus saying, you guys suck, because I would have chosen that spec anyway.
Okay.
So I've got the yellow brake calipers.
Okay.
I got the diamond cut wheels.
Okay.
Which look fantastic.
So I don't usually like diamond cut wheels, but they look good in this.
They will look good for it. You'll like it because it's ours.
Yeah.
And then the interior, same as this Alcantara, but instead I think I did a yellow stitch, which offsets.
Yellow stitch.
Yeah, it works really well with the blue.
Okay.
I've
okay.
spec'd many a Cayman exactly the same way.
Right.
So
And never pulled the trigger
never pulled the trigger.
with our money.
Yes.
So I really like the interior of this car, visually and like in terms of like design. Like, you got some manual climate control stuff going on
Oh,
here.
it feels like a modern car.
I got a manual like volume knob. This is fast enough. It's not lightning fast to
No,
use.
it's not lightning fast.
Right, but it's got Apple CarPlay and it's all there, right?
But this is the first edition. So we have a few comforts that you have to normally option on the non-first edition.
Right,
So
okay.
all the first cars are first edition. So
Yes.
ours will be a first edition, eh?
So
we've got the KEF upgraded audio.
which we just tested and is very good,
It's
actually.
very good.
Thankfully,
yeah.
in
Normally,
our car.
manufacturers audio manufacturers shove like their name on a car.
Right.
Like how many cars have Bose now, and it's so different.
Oh,
every
it
car.
doesn't matter. Yeah, there's like,
so
give me
this
money.
is good. We've got Alcantara headliner, which is
Room for a helmet, I'd say. Yeah, very important.
Yeah, you're not racing our car.
We can make choices.
Okay, so here's the foibles I have with this interior.
foibles?
Because it has to be. It's so much of an upgrade on the Evora, right?
Oh yeah. So much.
But there's some dumb stuff. Like,
Okay.
what is that?
Okay, so I wouldn't mind this if it stayed up.
Yeah, you can't one-hand it.
You can. You fight with it to get your hand underneath it. With one, it is very stupid.
It's just straight out of a Lambo and
It's
worse.
also tacky. Like I wonder.
It's tacky.
Yeah, like just remove it and just give me. You know what I mean?
I don't think you can remove it without it being like a hinge.
I think I'd want the start-stop button to be red. Why not? Give me a splash
would
of
be
color.
more fun.
Right?
Yeah.
And glowing.
Yeah. But
Steering
I love that you can see the shifter through
Oh,
the, through
oh,
the mesh.
so good. It's just also this just feels great, doesn't it?
Storage is not huge, you know. It's,
You don't need to store things.
you got this little thing here where
There's
you
a
can,
bit there.
you can put your pipe. And that's about
It's
it.
enough for 4 playing cards.
Yeah. But
This is nice.
it's simple.
I really like this. steering wheel.
People have been upset about the steering wheel because it goes quite wide here, right?
Yeah, I'm used to BMW M steering wheels, which are like really chonk.
Yeah, but they're not the standard. They're too thick
This is about as thick as an M2 wheel.
in that bit there.
Yeah.
So I just drive like this everywhere. So it's perfect width up there. Yeah.
Gauge cluster is, good. Basically I'll say I might even need to comment on it. It's good enough.
It's just good enough.
It just
Yeah.
gives me what I need. Seats are comfortable as well, which is nice.
I kind of wish there was a bit more support. Like left to right. They're not as bolsters as they could
bolsters, they could be. Okay.
be. But maybe they're saving that for whatever comes next, the Emira GT or
Right.
whatever it's going to be called.
But I don't, you know what? This is like, it is an everyday sports car, right? It's not a track car. So I don't really want much more bolstering than this.
No, yeah, in time, as they add the more aggressive additions, this will kind of end up being like the base Emira in a way.
Yeah.
But knowing Lotus, they'll just like tweak it for another 10 or 20 horsepower.
But the driving position is great. The pedal spacing is exactly what I want, right? Ergonomically, this is a fantastic interior. Everything is right where it should be. And the materials are nice.
Yeah.
They really are.
And look, when you change the air conditioning, the person has
He's
a
a
helmet.
race car driver.
It's a helmet. I guess they couldn't do that and not have room for a helmet.
Yes, exactly. You know what? I think this car is an absolute win.
Yeah, for someone that would actually follow through on the purchase.
So, am I gonna buy one? Well, let's look at it. Yes, this is a better looking Evora, which was an already amazing driver's car, and it now has a nicer interior. Well done, Lotus. It's more connected than any of the $50,000 to $70,000 range sports cars. It's more playful than Caymans and 911s, and its size makes it more approachable than something like a C8 Corvette. Really, the lack of an overly exotic power plant is the only thing that stops the Emira graduating to supercar status. Although, to its credit, during this filming day, Thomas and I remarked often that the engine is no less titillating than the Cayman GTS's 4-litre flat 6, a high compliment.
The Emira is practically challenged, though. Compared to the Cayman's magical frunk plus trunk combo, the Emira answers the question cargo space with no, cargo road. And go road it does. It is genuinely one of the best pure sports cars in the world right now. So practicality be damned, as a pure sports car, I think I would take this over almost any Porsche. I would take it over a C8 Stingray. I would take it over a Supra, an Alfa 4C, an F-Type, a Nissan Z, an NSX, an R8 even. Simply put, if you have $100,000 to spend on a sports car, this should be at the top of your list.
However, our list is a bit unique, and since placing the order a year ago, things have changed. We've wondered what else Throttle House can do with Emira money. Like, it would be expensive, but we could organise the first Throttle House road trip series where we buy a car each and go on a massive adventure.
James, we are doing that.
We are?
Yes, we just haven't told the audience yet.
Oh. Right. Whoops.
Oh, and if we can't get our $10,000 back, expect to see a We Bought a Lotus Emira video on the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye!